Hello everyone, it's Julia again and ready for a second reading from my new book Rambling Rose, which was released today. Now this is the choice of the lovely Caroline Noe, and she requested that I read a segment, a non-spoiler segment obviously, of a little bit of action between Martin and Amy. Now anyone who has read Becoming Lily or Chaining Daisy will recognise those names and know that they are quite important characters in those two books, and in the third book they really step forward and take their turn in the spotlight, as it was. Just a little tiny bit of backstory. As you know, Rose has been forced to leave her beautiful home and take her 12-year-old daughter with her, and they have been offered the use of Sycamore Cottage rent-free, which is a tiny little sort of annex cottage on the side of the much bigger Sycamore house, which is where Tom lives. And anyway, he's offered them this cottage rent-free, but it stood empty for quite a while, so the gang have actually had to rally round and clean it, and they're just trying to put a lick of paint on the walls. So this scene takes place at the end of a very long, busy day where it's been all hands on deck to try and paint. And here you go. Hope you enjoy it. Realising there was nothing more she could do, Amy began bagging up rubbish, taking any paintbrushes they had finished with to wash at the outside tap. Dusk was beginning to creep over the garden, and a slight chill was chasing away the warmth of the day and hinting at autumn nights to come. Amy stood for a moment, arching her spine to work out the knots a day of painting in confined spaces will leave. It was quiet, save for the rustle of leaves on the mature trees Tom's garden boasted, and she took a deep breath of the crisp evening air, and then another. Amy? She half turned to find Martin standing close to her, his features obscured by the deepening gloom of night. Yes? Are you all right? Yes. Why? You were standing so still. I thought... Oh, it doesn't matter what I thought. I'm fine. I was enjoying the evening. It is a nice night. He glanced around the garden. Tom sure has a lovely place here. I thought you were happy with your apartment. I am, but it's not the end plan. What is the end plan? Oh, you know, wife, kids, home, same as yours, I guess. Really? Amy looked at him with interest. Well, yeah, why? Is that so surprising? Well, no, but I thought you were happy being the eternal bachelor. I thought you enjoyed the whole playboy about town, never seen with the same woman twice lifestyle. I did, once, but it gets old, and it could be lonely, always coming home to an empty house. I mean, don't you find that too? Aren't you lonely, Amy? Lonely? Amy was startled by his question. You live alone, he continued. You go home to an empty house. You usually eat alone, spend your evenings alone, and when you go to bed, it's empty. So, are you lonely, Amy? Amy stood in the darkness, staring in his direction, the wet paintbrushes in her hand dripping onto her shoes. Lonely. Was she lonely? I'm always busy, she began slowly. I mean, work will take up as much time as I let it. And there's Kevin and Daisy and the twins. I know I'm always welcome there. And then there's the gang, Lily and Jake, Lindy and Johnny and all their children. And of course there's you. Yes, there's me, he said. Silence stretched as his words hung between them. Unsure what he was saying, what he was implying, Amy remained quiet, waiting for his next move, but apprehensive as to what it might be. Martin was her friend, just her friend. That friendship had endured for years, plodding along in old and familiar grooves until now. Well, now she had the oddest sensation he was pushing them out of the rut of their friendship. In that single moment, they stood at a crossroads where a word or a movement could change everything. But a sudden fear of change, of saying or doing anything that would disrupt the comfortable status quo of their relationship, had her drawing back from him. He hesitated, and part of her wanted him to come to her in the darkness, and what? What did she want? But then he seemed to lose his nerve and stepped away, back into the shadows cast by the cottage. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, Caroline. I hope you all enjoyed that. Just wanted to say that Rambling Rose can be read as a standalone. I mean, there's no obvious story arcs that you would struggle to follow if you just picked up the third book. But obviously, it is part of a bigger picture. And if you haven't read the first two books, you won't have such a rich experience. So, although it's perfectly possible to read it on its own, and please don't let the fact you haven't read the previous two books stop you from buying or reading this one. But it is, just bear in mind that it is meant to be read as a whole. But anyway, once again, I would like to say a huge thank you to everybody for all of your support and all your help, and I hope you enjoyed the reading. Thank you.